Oh well. Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. Live from the Spot Podcast. I'm your host with the most chill motherfucking Murray. We are gathered here today again for episode 30. Make sure my mic sound nice. Make sure my mic sound nice. Try to make sure you had a nice little intro this time. Nice little intro this time. Nice organized fucking intro this time. I know they're going to quit me for publishing, but I do not give a fuck because I'm prepared this time. Haha, bitches. Anyway, um, we have some things to talk about today. As y'all saw who's on the cover, we're gonna get to her last. We're gonna get to her fast ass later on. But hope everybody's okay. Good evening for those who are tuned in on the late night. For those who will be tuned in YouTube, hello and welcome once again to another episode. Want to start this off by saying rest in peace to Suzanne Summers. Miss Suzanne Summers. I forgot to pull that part up. But yes, rest in peace to Miss Suzanne Summers, who passed away, had a long battle with breast cancer before passing. This comes from CBS Philadelphia, CBS News. Suzanne Summers died Sunday in California, one day before her birthday, after a long battle with breast cancer. Summers wrote a number of health and wellness books, and she was very public about some of her controversial medical decisions. Summers played the cheerful blonde on the TV show Three's Company. That was one of my wife's favorite shows right there. Until she was fired after demanding equal pay. She went on to star in many other roles and said she made millions with the Thigh Master, a personal fitness device. Summers was first diagnosed with breast cancer in 2000. She initially embraced organic, non traditional therapies. We women are the sickest women in the world in the United States from excessive chemicalization, Summers previously said. But research shows for treating aggressive cancer, chemotherapy, a combination of toxic chemicals, is proven to work. We all know that chemotherapy has its own side effects, but it's something that's been shown to extend the duration of life and actually improve the quality of life, Dr. Deborah Buchbach of Virtua Health said. Dr. Buchbach, an oncologist with Virtua, said there's not a lot of science on organic cancer treatments. There's very little in the world of alternative medicine that's been proven and validated, Dr. Buchbach said. Summers, who was eventually treated with the traditional therapies, advocated using bioidentical hormones, estrogen, progesterone. Am I saying this right? Progesterone and testosterone. Oh, so progesterone. Oh, yeah, progesterone and testosterone to fight aging after menopause. Hormones do increase our risk of breast cancer in a small percentage of people, Dr. Bushback said, but there are also significant benefits, improving quality of life. Summers said she was at peace with her decisions and will be remembered for her courageous decades long fight with cancer. Doctors said decisions about hormone therapy and cancer treatments are very personal and individualized decisions that are best made consulting with doctors. Once in peace, rest. Once again, rest in peace to Miss Suzanne Summers, legend in TV and Hollywood. Period. Uh, you will definitely be remembered and never forgotten, Miss Suzanne Summers. Um, Moving along. Miss Carly Russell. If y'all don't remember before, we were on the pod before, and we were talking about Miss Carly Russell. Miss Carly Russell. So, if y'all don't remember, Miss Carly Russell, who admitted to faking her own kidnapping, this comes from CNN, in Alabama, was found guilty in the hoax and sentenced to a year in jail. Carly Russell, the Alabama woman who admitted to faking her own kidnapping, has been found guilty of two misdemeanor charges related to the case, according to CNN affiliates WBMA, and WVTM. Russell had pleaded not guilty to one count of false reporting to law enforcement authorities and one count of falsely reporting an incident. A judge found her guilty, and Russell was sentenced to spend a year in jail and pay nearly $18,000 in restitution, according to the reports. It's a lot of damn money. Russell's attorney, Emery Anthony, told CNN affiliate WVTM his client asked for a verdict so they could appeal the case to circuit court in an effort to avoid jail time. Now, you should have known better. You wasn't going to avoid no jail time for this. We knew once you confessed that this shit was fake, that you was going to jail. It didn't take no lawyer or anybody with a bar background to know that your ass was going to jail for this. Stupid is as stupid does. I tell you that much. Anthony said Russell does not object to paying restitution, saying, I think anything is fair when it comes to restitution with the expenses that were done. So we have to say that this is fair. Anytime you assert restitution, it has to be proven. The amount, $17,000 and some hours spent, I would think that would be very fair. And I mean, of course, you have to think about what they're actually putting in consideration with the $18,000 of restitution. They're talking about the law enforcement that was sent out there, the amount of hours that were spent looking for not only her but the missing child. So that's really what the $18,000 restitution is for. It's you basically wasted all this money and time of the justice system looking for your ass. And you was never lost to begin with. You made it home safe and sound and faked your shit. So, yeah, $18,000 slap on the wrist for a year in jail. Be lucky you got that. All right. Anthony said his client has apologized for what she has done, and he wants to make sure her mental state is just fine. Russell staged a kidnapping in July that captured the nation's attention after she mysteriously disappeared after calling 911 to report a child walking along a highway. Officers arrived at the site and found her vehicle and personal items, but Russell was nowhere to be found. After a nearly 49-hour police search, Russell returned home and said she had been abducted, held hostage, and escaped her captors. And we won't get into the rest of that bullshit, because I can't wait. Matter of fact, I think they had a Tubi movie on this, and I believe Netflix is on the way. But this is going to be one of the most entertaining, and I mean the documentary was already funny as fuck, but this is going to be one of the most entertaining ass parody movies I've ever seen. But yes, serve your ass right, Miss Carly. Serve your ass right. You do not waste the judicial system time. And furthermore, the real reason that they putting her away is because of all those people that came forth. Remember the lady that I showed y'all before that came forth? Oh, I really thought something had happened to her. I really thought something had happened to her. She had put together a whole focus group. She put together a Facebook group. She put together a rally. She had people at the town hall meeting looking for Carlee Russell. And Carlee Russell was at home smoking a blunt, having a glass of Hennessy with her boyfriend. Or Alizé, I believe, was her favorite drink. But, yeah. Shouts out to the judicial system on that one. Speaking of the judicial system, speaking of the system, we got some good news from Tory Lanez. Or I should say about Tory Lanez. As we give it on over to DJ Academic.
Yo, I seen you posted about Tory Lanez, man. You know, there's been a lot of misinformation.
You gotta find your date. I told us that. When they get to CDC, they're going to break their time down. They don't give a fuck what they say in LA County. And now he got the appeal going in because 4 years went towards the gun enhancement. He beat that gun enhancement, he coming home.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, I see you posted. Chat.
4 years of his 10 was gun enhancement.
Hey, by the way, chat, everybody go show Wack 100 on Instagram some love. I'm pulling up his Instagram right now. Yeah, Wack posted, I think.
That's his release date. Yeah, look at it.
This is the CDC rec, or the California
Penitentiary.
Yeah. This is their record of Daystar Peterson. He's 31 right now. He got admitted 9/19/2023. And they're saying his eligible date of parole is 2029.
Ain't no eligible. It's California. He's not a lifer. He don't go to board. They give you a date, and they just release you. Now, he had 10 years. He had 10 years with 85%, which meant he's supposed to do 8 years, 5 months. Yeah, so his release date should be north of 2033. Well, I told everybody when he gets to the state, they're not going to honor that shit. As you see, they knock you down. Now, he gets to go to school and go do classes to get milestones, what knocks off 6 months here.
Now, wait a minute. Now, I just heard about this a couple of days ago. But he's absolutely right. And I thought about that. I actually thought about that when Tory first got sentenced. When Tory first got sentenced, he already had some time served. Now, I know a lot of y'all are saying, no, he didn't. He was going to try to fight that. Nah, he had some time served still. On top of, now he gets to actually knock down some of the time for good behavior, as well as doing different things. So he's getting sent to general population. Remember that. He's getting sent to general population, where he can actually participate in doing things like work. He can do actual work within the correctional facilities. So that is going to actually take down or decrease his actual time served, is what Wack is talking about. Interesting.
Once a year there. That 2029, even if he doesn't get an appeal, he probably touch 2027, 2028. If you get the appeal, because you got to remember, they charged him with a gun, even though he had no gunpowder residue on him. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No prints on that gun. So, you can charge him what you want, but when the appeal goes in, they going to look at it a different way.
Either way, I get what Wack is saying. I got the same face academics got right now, even though it's paused. That appeal, you can forget about that appeal. You know why you can forget about that appeal? Because I've told people this from the get-go with this case. That appeal's going to get thrown out the window because of the powers that be that are helping him even get convicted in the first place. That appeal, forget about it, okay? Just forget about it. If anything, he's going to get the parole. He's going to get the eligible for parole in the 2029. Okay? Now, it's 2023 going on 2024. It's only 5 years from now. I want y'all to think about that. He's eligible for parole in 2029. It's only 5 years from now. So, that's why I said, fuck the appeal. So, if he gets the appeal, yeah, Wack has a point about the gun prints and all that, but the powers that be probably ain't going to let that happen. They're going to find some type of prints. They're going to bring Kelsey back. Something's going to happen to where that appeal gets fucked up. So I would hope they stop chasing that appeal. Anyway, 2029, 2028, 2029 is when I think we're going to see Tory. I think around 2028, we're going to hear word of Tory getting out. I guarantee you by 2027, 2028, we're going to hear word about Tory getting out. I guarantee you.
He got 4 years. You go listen to his sentencing. He got 6 years for one thing, an additional 4 for the gun enhancement. Having the gun. If they can prove he didn't have the gun, You got the test. You got the statement, and they didn't allow the stylist to get up there that said the two girls always packed the gun in their luggage. The gun came from their luggage. They didn't allow them to get up there and say that, but it's on paper. That fucking appeal go through, and that 4 years get struck. They're gonna take the 4 years off of that 2029.
Really?
Which puts him where?
2025.
There it goes.
Wow. Hey, you know what a lot of people have been saying? They've been saying that Tory might have issues during the time. Like I don't know.
Tory ain't gonna have no issues. The homies got his back. He was good to the streets of California. My nigga Speedy from Hard Time Hustler Crib, right? He got the Crib side of it. That's his right hand man. Matter of fact, I got exclusive content. I ain't never told nobody that.
Yeah.
Wack 100 and Speedy from Hard Time Hustler Crip is the last two people we talked to before he walked in that courtroom and got snatched. We didn't know he was going to get snatched. He wanted me to tend to some business on his contracts and to take over some shit. I got like 20 minutes recorded conversation of Tory Lanez walking his time and dated. Right, they calling his name. You hear him calling them. Me and Speedy, the last people he talked to. Speedy still slammed down. He been in there about 7 years. Respectable homie. So on the blue side, people gonna respect Speedy Hand, and on the red side, the homies got him. He's straight. He in there with a dime move from Devil Lanes right now, just selling. Tory good and he black, so we ain't going for it.
Hey,
he's not a gang member. He got love coming from the West.
The New York Post had put something out saying that Tory was scared, and I remember I talked to some people from the team. They said that was not true.
Every man that goes to the penitentiary is gonna have some fear in them. I don't give a fuck what man that is. The only people that don't fear it is the return offenders who understand what they're going to. Anytime it's like getting on a roller coaster for the first time. You're gonna be nervous. Once you get in there, you learn the ropes. You cool. Tory's a man. He ain't no punk. Tory ain't gonna have to fight. He ain't gonna have to do nothing. All Tory gotta do is do Tory. He got Cali love coming from both sides of the fence all year. That's a fact.
I'm glad you said it, because some people are trying to make it seem like, you know, like even in the article seemed like such bullshit, because it was like, oh yeah, you know, he's a shorter dude, you know, like, you know, people might try to extort him, and people might try to like jump on him.
Okay, listen, now let me give you some more politics. Half the penitentiary.
And real quick, before Wack says anything, I just want everybody to understand something. Tory, I know some people have had their misconstrues about Tory Lanez, but one thing that you need to understand, Tory definitely is not pussy. We're talking about the same gentleman that, forget August Alsina. This man pressed Travis Scott over the he said, she said bullshit about him sounding like him or whatever the case may be. Went into Travis Scott's trailer by himself with maybe two other people. Travis Scott had a trailer full of people. Tory Lanez went in there with maybe one or two people and said, yo, we can clear this whole thing out and me and you can shoot the fade. If it's really an issue. So Tory Lanez, by long shot, is not scared of anybody. Tory Lanez has had many run-ins before where he's had that short guy complex that comes out. So don't worry about him being the little guy. Tory's well documented in Toronto. We'll also just say that, without getting into too much detail. Tory is going to be just fine in general population. I think it was actually his decision to want to go to general population because he knows he'll be good. As you just heard Wack say, he's going to be just fine. If he's paid his dues that much in California, the way Wack just said, he's going to be just fine these next 5 to 6 years that he does. He's going to be just fine.
Is motherfuckers that want to do what? Rap. What you think them niggas gonna go out their way just to show Tory?
That they got his back and their loyalty.
We got you, homie. We with you, homie. That's Tory fucking Lanez. If Tory Lanez called me right now, as I hear from him every couple of weeks, and said, Wack, I got a nigga getting released. He did me a solid, right? I want you to move him around a little bit, do what you do, and get this done for him. And I'm going to do it. Right? It's no different than what Suge did in the penitentiary. It's no different. He's Tory. So, yeah, he's going to talk to people on politics. He might discover a new talent. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. With Tory, all right. Tory ain't got to go to no motherfucking solitary confinement. He ain't got to hide from nobody. He ain't got to do nothing. Tory good. Bro, Speedy. He's Speedy 1808 on Instagram. Y'all want to check him out. Right? Reputable motherfucker. He's a voice on the West. From Hard Time Hustler Crips, my brother. Solid. He's a general. Right? That's Tory's right-hand man. On the red side, you got a slew of us over here. You fuck with it. Not just me, it's a bunch of us.
Hey, Wack. If keep it 100.
All right. So, as y'all just heard, Tory Lanez possibly, keyword is possibly, could be coming home. It's not a guarantee. It is not a guarantee. But it's possible that he'll be coming home within the next 5 to 6 years. I am very hopeful that he'll be coming home in the next 5 to 6 years. As a Tory Lanez fan and a fellow Umbrella, I hope to see him soon. Because the whole case to me was bullshit. We won't get back further into it. We covered it. We covered majority of that case. We also covered the interview with Megan. We covered a lot of things. So I don't want to sound super biased up here or whatever, but case may be. But like I said, I believe Tory will be back home soon. And I already knew that this was just going to be a huge slap on his wrist to just damage his character and brand because the powers that may be wanted it that way. Moving along. I guess we're going to stay around this topic. We're going to stay around the topic of, I guess, bars in prison. And one thing kind of transitions into the other, I guess. Since we're going to be talking about Jada Pinkett later, why don't we get into the confession of Keffe D? Because me personally, I don't believe it. But people want to believe what they want to believe. Like I said, I, for one, don't believe any of this bullshit with the Keffe D confession. And furthermore, they're saying that Keffe D saying that Diddy hired him. Something is a little bit off about this. And I was wondering why Diddy released this album the way he did, number one. And then, remember when we covered a part or two ago, him giving back the publishing out of the blue. Instead of him taking the huge catalog deal that he got offered, which I'm pretty sure he got offered a good lump sum of money because everybody's being offered a few $100 million for their catalog, whatever. Diddy chose to give back the publishing to everybody out of the blue. So now one has to raise their eye and ask, did he do it in anticipation of this case possibly happening, building up around him? Because a case can now be built up around him with them saying that Keffe D saying that he hired, Diddy hired him to kill Pac. So, and it, like I said, where do we start? Oh, you know what? We're going to start with my evidence. Okay? Not necessarily my evidence, but we're going to start with what I believe as far as what has been going on with this. And I say that because there was a documentary called the Biggie and Tupac documentary back in 2002. And in that documentary, they had quite a bit of evidence showing both sides of the murderers between Tupac and Biggie. I mean, this was to the T as far as who killed them. From Gene, this is what actually sparked Gene Deal. Y'all know Gene Deal has been doing his own little YouTube channel, done his documentary, done his book. This documentary in 2002 is what sparked Gene Deal to even do what he's doing now. So I want to play some of that documentary because I believe that documentary will bring a lot of light to what we are going to be talking about for these next few with the Tupac and Keefe D thing. This documentary is basically going to I want you guys to take note in a lot of the things that I'm going to be showing you guys. From the cops that got interviewed to, you know what, let's just get into it a little bit. Because it ain't that long. We're going to skim through some of it. But I want y'all to see some of it. You know what I mean?
This way. I want anybody at this corner at all, period, okay? I'd like to see everybody that way, okay? People understand? I want you that way, please. Very much. Thank you. Go home.
With an incredibly personal information. Became fascinated by.
Was it filth? Yes, it was filth. Some of it was filth.
I'm going to just skip to the
67 tracks in 11 months.
But you want to hear about the humiliation. There was humiliation.
So they first
sometimes I felt bad, sometimes I felt good.
But then they got a little bit deeper.
It don't make no sense.
The actual law enforcement.
Old school type of cop.
So it's great we were able to do this finally.
Yeah, well, don't tell Leo. Would you get that on? Leo would be pissed.
And do you think that there was a connection between the Tupac Shakur killing and the Biggie Smalls killing?
Well, that's basically what it appears to be, a retaliation. Okay, and I think Suge Knight wanted it to look that way. Okay, but you know, had we been able to aggressively investigate and had the heart to connect the two and do a thorough investigation, I think we probably would have found out more information.
And why didn't you?
Well, you know, there's a lot of factors, but I think the fact that law enforcement officers were working for death row, and that was a scandal in itself, okay? The fact that law enforcement officers were working for gangsters, known felons.
Marker number 1. There were law enforcement from the LAPD that were literally working for death row at the time. So one would think how easy it would be to get something covered up if you have the law enforcement working at your label.
Basically organized crime, because it was no secret that Death Row Records was involved in drug trafficking.
Between 30 and 40 police officers, some of whom are seen here, worked off duty for death row. Suge Knight had a lot of power, even within the DA's office.
Suge Knight, to me, was one of the most powerful gangsters around. He was well organized, he had a lot of power, and what gave him the power is he had dozens and dozens of police officers working in his organization, okay? He also had a DA that was working on his
Who was that?
matters. A gentleman by the name of Larry Longo.
Russell believes that Tupac's murder was organized by Suge Knight to look like a gang killing between the Crips and the Pyrus, also known as the Bloods. It was the night of the Tyson fight at the MGM in Las Vegas. Here he is being congratulated by Tupac and Suge Knight. Prior to the fight, Tupac was walking across the casino when one of Suge Knight's Piru homies whispered into Tupac's ear that a Crip was standing nearby. This Crip, Orlando Anderson, was supposed to have stolen a death row medallion. Tupac, keen to impress, rushed over and punched Orlando Anderson, knocking him to the ground.
Now, take notice. Was the name of Keefe D ever mentioned during this? No. Number one. Number two. Notice that the cop also said Suge Knight orchestrated this to make it look like there was a Blood versus Crip happening, right? Here's the biggest part of this. Orlando Anderson and Tupac supposedly had some type of run-in before this. But this beef was never between Orlando Anderson and Pac to begin with. This was between Suge and the Crips, not Tupac.
Suge Knight joined in with the kicking. It was for this kicking, a parole violation, that Suge Knight would receive 9 years in prison. 2 hours later, Tupac would be mortally wounded fighting for his life. Russell thinks Suge Knight staged the whole casino incident.
He thought he would be able to beat this casino probation thing. He really did. It just backfired on him. There's nothing he can do for his defense, because the whole reason for that setup in the casino was to provide a motive, for Compton Crips to do the hit on Tupac, when in fact Suge Knight's people that he hired was going to do the hit. See, it's very smart. I mean, if you study any of these mafia flicks, it's just perfect.
Now, we're going to skim a little bit, as you heard a very interesting part.
What I've been told.
Hello,
John.
Excellent.
There's nothing he can do for his defense, because the whole reason for that setup in the casino was to provide a motive, for Compton
But
Crips
as we're going
to
along,
do the
as
hit
we're
on
transitioning
Tupac,
real quick, I just
when
want
in
you guys
fact
to take note
Suge
of what he
Knight's
just said.
people
Suge
that he
Knight made it
hired
look like
was
this
going
was
to do the hit.
a
See, it's very
completely
smart.
different thing
I mean,
than what it
if
was.
you study any
And
of these
when
mafia
we
flicks,
actually listen
it's
to the
just
TMZ
perfect.
response of Suge Knight later on, I want you guys to remember back what this gentleman just said. That Suge Knight made this look this way.
Russell referred us to ex-police officer Hackey, one of the law enforcement officers who worked for Death Row. Hackey was one of Tupac's personal bodyguards. He now operates from here in San Pedro. Ex-officer Hackey works from here as a bounty hunter. He had himself just been released from prison.
hello.
John, how you doing?
Hackey was incarcerated for having a trunk full of AK-47s.
So when did you actually get out?
Actually, to be exact, I was released on the 14th of January.
14th of January.
Yeah.
This is Hackey as a police officer in Plumper, Dunkin' Donut days. He was a Compton police officer for about 14 years. I asked him if being a police officer and working for a criminal organization wasn't a bit of a contradiction.
I think primarily Death Row Records, in a sense, hired individual officers, who were, in a sense, officers who would, as I said, we see but we don't see.
But isn't that a compromise?
In a sense, most departments have off-duty work policy.
So it's all right to see drugs when you're off-duty, and it's not all right when you're on-duty?
I can honestly say...
I would say that was compromised.
As man as my witness upstairs?
Isn't that the word, compromise?
Based on the statement you said, yes, but I have never seen any drugs...
But you were aware, you said?
I had heard... But I have never seen anything with my own eyes.
Well, we're going backwards because you were aware about 30 seconds ago.
I was aware of certain things, but I've never seen any drugs.
Right. No. Hackey witnessed heated money disputes between Tupac and Suge Knight. At the time of his death...
As you can see a picture of him. Right here. So that's not some random guy he's interviewing. This gentleman was by Tupac's side along with a few other law enforcement. One other gentleman, which was a bodyguard, we're going to look at later on in this documentary. But yeah, this was one of the law enforcement from LAPD that was attached to Tupac. As you can clearly hear, he saw some things, he heard some things, but he cannot say anything. Of course.
Tupac was owed over $10 million by Death Row. Just before his murder, Tupac told Hackey and others he'd be leaving Death Row and taking unreleased songs worth more millions with him. Hackey regards these as the real motives for Tupac's murder. He complained, though, that my questions were too vague.
So you think what? You think I should be more specific?
Be more specific and direct with your questions.
Okay, do you think Suge Knight orchestrated the hit? Saved by the pager.
Based upon what I've been told within the industry and based upon what I knew for a fact that was going on, Tupac was leaving a record company, okay, because Tupac didn't need Suge Knight. He'd had several other offers. I would have to say, in a sense, that he had something to do with the orchestration of the shooting of Tupac.
So tell me, do you think that the...
Boom! Number 2. So you just heard it right there. Another confirmation of someone that was very close to things. That Suge Knight had orchestrated the hit on Tupac originally. Interesting. Notice that he did not deny that. Notice he did not deny that Suge Knight had orchestrated that hit. Notice that he also let out information that Tupac was going to leave the label. Now, where have you heard that before? As he just said, there were rumors circulating for years upon years prior to and after that Tupac was getting ready to leave Death Row and start his own label. And Suge wasn't having that.
2 murders, the 2 killings, were connected? Biggie Smalls and Tupac?
My personal opinion again. Yes, I believe they're both connected.
And do you think the same person was responsible for orchestrating the 2?
Yes.
And that person's in Death Row Records?
Yes.
So why do you think Biggie was killed?
I think, in a sense, Christopher Wallace just happened to be... Yeah, he's a well-known rap artist, but I think basically he just happened to, based on the situation transpired with Tupac, the flame was lit. So in order to throw the attention off Death Row Records, this man was killed. Next best thing, it was an East-West rivalry. Let's make it seem as if Bad Boy Records had something to do with the shooting of Tupac Shakur, which by no means whatsoever was remotely the case.
This is Suge Knight at his...
You heard it there first, ladies and gentlemen. So this is why I've been saying that all this Keefe D, Diddy hired, all this other shit. This is why I keep saying I don't believe a single fucking word of it. I don't believe the DJ Vlad interview. I don't believe any of it. Any of it. And this is why. This entire thing, all these years, remember, this wasn't just Suge Knight. And I'll go on record saying this, unfortunately. I hope nothing happens to me for this. But this was a government hit. The government paid Suge Knight for this. And Suge Knight, of course, didn't want to keep his mouth shut about a lot of things. Because he couldn't he couldn't get the immunity that he wanted out of jail. As you heard in the very beginning of the documentary. The only reason Suge Knight went to jail was because he couldn't beat the assault case at the casino. That's literally the only reason Suge Knight was in jail. The hit was successful. But Suge Knight couldn't get the immunity because of the assault case.
Death Row offices. I wondered if he was the victim of his own gangster posturings, the diamond earrings, the Havana cigar. This is the Suge Knight custom-made electric chair. And then there was a statement Suge Knight made about him and Tupac, seen here minutes before they were shot at. Suge Knight didn't help his credibility by saying he had a bullet stuck in his head, when in fact medical evidence showed he was only scratched by a piece of flying glass.
Let me ask you something. You were hit as well in that car.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing okay today? I can see your injury.
I got a bullet still in my head.
The bullet's still in your head?
Yes. The doctor told me that they did brain scans, all kind of stuff, and it went in and cracked my cranium, and it stayed there. They said there'd be more chances for damage to try to take it out than sew it up. I was hit there, I was grazed some other places. I got a deep slash of a bullet grazed the back of my neck, which if it had went another inch, it'd hit my spine and paralyzed me all the way down.
Suge Knight appeared to celebrate his history of violence. Rumors that he dangled Vanilla Ice by the ankles, charges of violent assault, attempted murder, the reports of daily beatings at his offices. After a semi-successful football career, Suge Knight had reinvented himself as a Mob Piru gang member, dressing in the blood.
I never mentioned
the key and ex-detective Paul.
They don't get in any trouble, right, guys? Turn your butt right. Act like you don't want to be seen.
Suge Knight
any other really time you right out here, right out in the front.
Like he really played the acting role part of this as much as he could.
Hi, how do you do? Good. Key and ex-detective Paul.
Now, he never really claimed any particular gang or stuff because he was into football at the time and going up. But the guys he grew up with and the gangster type guys are guys from this mob area over here. And naturally, when he got into his business and started the Death Row label, a lot of those guys wanted jobs from him and wanted to identify with him. And he hired them to work along with him. Tupac, when he became part of Death Row, a lot of the guys that were doing work with Death Row are more or less part of the Death Row entourage came from this area here. So naturally, when Tupac was killed, these guys, took offense to that. And that's when we had the retaliation.
After Tupac's murder, there were over 20 shootings in Compton over a 10-day period between the Pirus associated with Death Row and the Crips. there's no evidence that the Crips were working with Biggie and Bad Boy at the time of Tupac's murder. The so-called gang war is regarded by Hackey and ex-detective Pull as being used to take attention away from Suge Knight's involvement in Tupac and Biggie's murder.
Boom. Number 3. There was something already in place to take away Suge Knight's attention. See, this is why I keep saying this was a government hit. This was a government hit. And it was clear as day said just now that there was things in place to take away the attention of Suge Knight. To make it look like Suge had nothing to do with this. After all this time. And even still to this day. You see the Keefe D and the Diddy thing. They're still making it look like Suge Knight had nothing to do with it. Think about why that is.
This is Tupac at the Milan fashion shows. We're going to see Frank Alexander back left, who was with Tupac when he was murdered. Frank Alexander appeared to be the fall guy. Despite the incident with the Crip at the MGM, Frank was the only bodyguard assigned to Tupac that night. He was unarmed and did not have a radio. When he refused to lie about the incident, Frank received death threats. Frank now lives on this horse ranch in Orange County.
So basically this guy here was the bodyguard of Tupac that was attached to him that night. And as you heard plain as day, he didn't have any cameras on him. They basically took all the other guards off of him. That was the eerie thing that people also were discussing. The same thing that happened with Biggie. The same exact thing that happened to Biggie. Notice that, right? They take the guards off of you. They take the cameras off of you. They make it so no one else is really a witness except for the people that are close to you. So those people that are close to you, of course, are in shock. They don't know what the fuck is going on. They don't know necessarily who the hitman is directly, as well as they can't see the mole in place already. So, once again, you just heard it. The bodyguards and everything was removed off Tupac. Tupac took notice of that.
Hello.
Hi. How you guys doing?
Good. Hi, how do you do?
Good.
Good to see you.
What's your name?
Nick Broomfield.
Oh, hi, Nick. Hi.
So
this is the UK crew, huh?
Yeah. So you were Tupac's bodyguard?
Yeah.
Frank, a former Mr. Universe, terrified by the death threats, found spiritual peace when he became a born-again Christian. He also got several Rottweilers to back him up in case all else failed. Frank put on his favorite cowboy suit. Frank spent the year following Tupac's death severely depressed. He smoked a lot of dope and contemplated suicide. Frank wrote a book about his experiences as Tupac's bodyguard called Got Your Back.
So, and what do you think? I mean, you mentioned in your book that there were, rumors that it was an inside job.
I never mentioned in my book that there was rumors of an inside job because I had been on vacation prior to going back that day to Las Vegas to work, and
I think the exact phrase you used in your book was that there were rumors that Suge Knight had orchestrated the killing.
I didn't even say that in my book.
Okay, so this is an exact quote from your book.
Okay.
It says, word circulated that the shooting was orchestrated by Suge.
Word circulated.
I think
it did not circulate from me saying anything.
No. I said that was the quote from the book.
Okay.
Word circulated.
That it has circulated that Suge had something to do with it.
The shooting was orchestrated. The killing was orchestrated by Suge.
By Suge.
Uh-huh. You're going to let the dogs on me?
Yeah. No.
Because I think in the book you also said that you were frightened that Suge wanted to kill you.
It wasn't that
Suge himself or had anyone say that he wanted to kill me. I was getting death threats. I got death threats indirectly through employees that were still at Right Way, people that I knew that were friends of mine.
Other policemen, or?
I never heard it from a police officer saying.
Now, boom. Final one. He heard from his people at Right Way. Remember, he's not law enforcement. He's not LAPD. He's a bodyguard. So his friends at Right Way are also fellow bodyguards. Meaning, he got those death threats from the government. He didn't just get those death threats from the law enforcement. He got those death threats from the government. And I'm not going to just say the government. Let me also clarify that. He got those from possibly the FBI, the CIA. He got those death threats from those individuals. He got those death threats from some higher-ups. That's why he has a ranch with seven Rockwallers in security. That is why. This was a very, very, very high-profile hit that a lot of people had to just let die down. People had to vanish. People had to disappear. People had to die. People had to be fired. People had to be let go. It's a very high-profile assassination.
I was going to be killed or anything like that, but I was told by LAPD and also by Las Vegas Metro to watch my back and to be careful, because possibly something could happen to me.
No, I just wondered why you wrote that you were frightened of Suge and that Suge wanted to kill you.
I didn't say that Suge wanted to kill me.
Well, I could give you another quote.
I'm gonna help you on that. A friend of mine called me and said, Suge wants you dead. I go, what? He goes, DR. I go, DR? He goes, yes, Death Row Records wants you dead, which I have on tape. I have it recorded.
Frank and Tupac were close. Frank also gave us this video hit shot of Tupac with his niece Lamaika. Tupac called Frank Frankie.
Tell Frankie to call me. Frankie, you call me when she tells you to call me Frankie.
So as you can see, Frank was very, very close to Tupac as well. He was very much attached to Tupac. Not just attached to him as far as his job. He was very much attached to him as far as family goes. His niece is in there, for Christ's sakes. But that just goes to show you, like I said, how deep this actually went as far as getting a hit put on Pac. So let's also think. I'm gonna stop the documentary here. Number one, for the simple fact that I don't want it to derail off of the subject, of course, because we're going to now get into what's been circulating with the Keefe D shit. And further in that documentary, they were going to go into Biggie's killing. So if you want to watch that documentary, it is on YouTube. It's free. The Biggie and Tupac documentary, whatever. I implore you to watch it because it's a very, very, very intriguing and informative documentary and in-depth detail on who really killed Pac and Biggie. That journalist and videographer, I hope he is still around and still alive. But like I said, that is a very detailed and informative documentary that I hope a lot of people actually take a good look at if they want to know the truth behind what happened back then. Even still, it will never bring either one of them back. But like I said, if you want to be informed on what really happened, that is the way to go. But yeah. So once again, there's circulation now that Keefe D is the one that was with Orlando Anderson pulling up with Tupac or whatever, right? So let's first journey back to the DJ Vlad interview.
So let's talk about what happens next. You know, based on what the book says, Zip gave you guys a Glock, and you guys tossed it in the back seat. And Bubble Up was a driver, and Baby Lane and Freaky were in the back seat.
We was just all in the car together. Just say that.
This was the white Cadillac.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are driving around, and then you hear these girls say, "Tupac, Tupac."
No, we coming up, what's the name? What's that, Flamingo? Yeah, I think that's Flamingo. We was coming up Flamingo and got to the light. We was going to go drink and smoke some weed, and he happened to be hanging out the window. He was hanging out the window like he was in a parade.
Tupac.
Yeah, he was.
So what happens next?
And we just came, and shit. I ain't gonna go into the details like that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, you got it in the book. You done played it, everything else, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, in the book, you said that as you're driving up towards the BMW, with Suge driving and Tupac in the passenger seat, and you said that Tupac pulled out a gun.
It looked like he was reaching, yeah. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, aside from that editing real quick, which was also very suspicious to me, of the fast-forwarding editing, number one. Number two, does that even sound like someone that actually rolled up on Tupac that night? Or does that someone sound like they just happened to see Tupac and made up a story about running up on Tupac? Because that's what this is starting to sound like. This is starting to sound like he made up a story about running up on Tupac with Orlando Anderson after the whole thing. Because let's be honest. Yeah, Tupac was seen hanging outside the window, talking to some girls or whatever. But at that instant, he was also seen being shot. It was not by Keefe D, because as you just saw, Keefe D was way down the way when that was happening. See, that's another hole in the story right there. If you really pay attention to the details of when Tupac was killed, right after Tupac was doing that, a car was right behind those girls. So by the time Keefe D would have even got to Tupac, Tupac would have already been dead.
Did you actually see a gun?
No, shit. Once he got the region, I got the ducking.
So someone from your car
That's what happened.
started shooting at Tupac and Suge.
Lane starts blasting. You say Suge looks over, he sees you. He looks right at you?
Yeah, he looked at me.
Okay. When he looks over at you, and then, Tupac's busy getting shot. Evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out of the
back seat or something.
Yeah, what do you see happening inside of their car?
I seen a bullet going Suge's head. I thought he was dead.
So Orlando shot across Dre?
He leaned over on the window. We rolled down the window, popped.
Who was it?
They would drove on my side. I would popped them. You know what I'm saying? But they was on the other side.
Right.
I'm not gonna go into details on that one. Keep it streets, homie. I ain't gonna go into detail on that.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and read from the book.
Well,
so
let them buy the book then.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to read this passage. The shit was on. Tupac made an erratic move and began to reach down beneath his seat. It was the first and only time in my life that I could relate to the police command. Keep your hands where I could see them. Instead, Pac pulled out a strap, and that's when the fireworks started. One of my guys from the back seat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. The first shot skinned Suge in the head, and I thought that motherfucker was dead. I had heard some stories, supposedly that Suge used Tupac as a shield when the bullets started flying, but that's some bullshit. Suge was already wounded, and he was the one that got touched. As the rounds continued flying, I ducked down so I wouldn't get hit.
Basically, yeah.
White Cadillac, arm came out the back seat and started letting off.
What went through your head when you saw that?
they shoot my nigga.
So the bullets are flying. Tupac and Suge's car get all shot up. Was there, and I'd heard different versions of the story, but the one version I heard was that that their entourage started shooting back.
Basically, yes.
Okay. Does anyone from the death row side return fire?
Yes.
Okay. Can you say who that was?
Yeah, he's no longer with us. His name was Buntry.
Buntry.
One of Suge's right-hand guy, our good friend, Alton McDonald. He chased the car down. He also received one gunshot to his vehicle. His car was shot. He had a black Toyota Supra. And him and another guy returned shots at that car.
Yeah, they saying they left their guns at home, though. They started shooting back. Then some chicks was in the Seabreeze, started following, a white Seabreeze, ragtop Seabreeze.
Why were the girls following you guys?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's crazy.
But I guess their window got shot out.
Front windshield, yeah. Yeah.
And they stopped following you at that point.
Exactly.
I've talked to a couple people that were there about the situation, and from what they told me was that, you guys came up, the car that you were in came up behind Tupac's car. You guys the cars were not facing each other.
No, they weren't facing each other.
They were not facing each other.
Gutter lane.
You guys got up parallel to them, behind them.
So, of course, this whole thing, and see, this is why it's very, you have to pay close attention to what was said earlier about Suge orchestrating this to make it look like there was a Crip that killed Tupac. Notice how detailed that they are about how notice how detailed they are about Suge and what Suge did and how Suge was shot in the head. There were no reports about Pac pulling out a gun. There were no reports about a gun even being in there. There were no reports about a gun being in Suge's car. If anything, there wasn't even a bodyguard that was around. It was just Suge and Pac in the car. So that's another lie. There wasn't a third shooter in the back seat. You guys remember the picture. It was just Pac and Suge in the car. Literally. There was no third shooter. So who the fuck was firing back? At whom? You just heard him also say Pac was busy getting shot. Who the hell was Pac shooting at if he's busy getting shot? He doesn't even have a clue of what's going on right now. He's not shooting anyone.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. It was a question that gripped the world. Who killed Tupac
And this
Shakur,
is
the
DJ
25-year-old
Vlad.
rapper, considered one of the most influential artists of all time, was gunned
YouTube
down in Las
informant,
Vegas
if you ask
in
me.
1996. Well, on Friday,
won't go there.
Dwayne Keefe D. Davis was indicted on one count of murder with a deadly weapon in relation to the killing. DJ Vlad, a major commentator in the hip-hop industry for years, admitted that police in Las Vegas asked him to help their investigation after he interviewed Keefe D for his own show. And DJ Vlad
And you
joins
said
me
that
now.
Tupac pulled out a gun.
It looked like he was reaching, yeah. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you actually see a gun?
No, shit. Once he got the reaching, I got the ducking.
So someone from your car
That's what happened.
started shooting at Tupac and Suge.
So Orlando shot across Dre?
He leaned over on the window. We rolled down the window, popped.
Who was it?
They would drove on my side. I was popped them. You know what I'm saying? But they was on the other side.
Right.
Well, DJ Vlad joins me now. DJ Vlad, thank you very much indeed for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I know you've studied this case for so long, and these interviews that you did with Keefe D, they've turned out to be extremely significant in this investigation, leading, in fact, to him being arrested and indicted. When you heard that news, how did you feel?
Well, I mean, the goal wasn't really to get anyone arrested. It was really just to get the truth of the matter. The story about Orlando Anderson killing Tupac, I've known since around 2007. So it was essentially the worst kept secret in LA. Everyone knew about it, but there were no arrests, there was no convictions, there was no anything, there was no...
Now, let me also say this real quick. Forgive me for saying, I apologize for saying YouTube informant. You know why I say I apologize? He's not a YouTube informant. He's a journalist. He's a YouTube journalist. He's a very good journalist at that. You know why he's a very good journalist? Because there are little idiots that go on his show and do this and tell all and tell on themselves. To the victims that have went to jail for being on his show and interviewed, congratulations, you played yourself. Because you have no business saying the things that you have been saying on his show. It's clear that everything that you said on his show is documented, can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Actual proofs. There's a lot of conspiracy theories around it. So around 2008, when I first heard the Keefe confession tapes that Greg Kading got, then I found out there was a book that was about to come out. I got a hold of Keefe D and his co-writer, and we scheduled an interview, and we just went from there.
I mean, he appears to have incriminated himself in this interview, certainly the last one. Did you believe he was doing that as you interviewed him?
Well, I think that he believed that he had a level of immunity when he did the proffer agreement. I think at the time he was saying that he had cancer, so maybe he didn't think he had much time to live. So he was just kind of letting it loose at that point. But, it was a little bit crazy that he actually sat down and we did everything. And when I asked him about it, sometimes he would try to dodge certain questions, but ultimately I used the book as a blueprint. So whenever a question wouldn't get answered, I said, well, the book said X, Y, and Z. And then at that point, he kind of went along with what was written in the book.
It's been reported that you have resisted efforts by the police to hand over all the unedited tapes. Is that true? And if so, why?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, ultimately, people that we have on our show, we don't turn around and cooperate against those same people with the police. For me, just in terms of business-wise and my ethics and so forth, I just feel there's something wrong. So when Las Vegas police reached out to me multiple times, I just never responded. I think what they did ultimately want was the raw footage. That was an email that they sent after a couple of phone calls went unanswered. Ultimately, if you know the style of our footage, everything that we film gets released. So I think there's a little bit of a barking up the wrong tree situation, but maybe they thought there was a gotcha on there in the footage that was unreleased, which I'm not aware of it since everything did get released. But ultimately, we don't cooperate with the police. And, we've had situations where police have tried to get footage from us, and we've had our lawyers step in and actually block it.
Are you concerned? I mean, I've done many interviews, including crime interviews, actually, over the years. And there's always a certain element of concern as an interviewer when you stray into that kind of territory about repercussions from people involved. I mean, given there's now been an indictment here, are you worried about repercussions against you?
I don't worry about doing my job. I've been doing Vlad TV for 15 years now. We've covered a lot of very serious issues. We've interviewed like mass murderers like Sammy the Bull and so forth. So I don't really worry when it comes to doing my job. My job supersedes any level of concern or fear or anything else like that. And ultimately, if I ever feel there is a situation where there might be some danger, I always move with armed security.
You famously a very big fan of Tupac, as of course millions of people were, and it remained one of the great mysteries about this. If it turns out that your interviews have helped lead to solving this mystery, will you feel a sense of closure for Tupac and his family?
Well, I mean, for me, the closure came 4 years ago when I did the interview. there was a lot of conspiracy theories when it comes to Tupac. There was that, Suge had him set up. There was the government did it. There was the first responder had a body that he switched. The Tupac is living in Cuba somewhere. There's a lot of crazy theories out there. So for me, when I did the interview 4 years ago and we went through the entire story, really Keffe D's entire life story, but really leading up to what happened from Orlando getting jumped at the mall to, the next few steps to them going to Vegas to what happened, during the fight to what happened afterwards. That essentially told the story.
Yeah.
I've been saying for years that I solved the Tupac murder.
Right.
When it comes to the family, I've had various family members reach out through people to say they're very happy about it. But the thing about it is, I know people that were very close to Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, and they all told me that while she was alive, she did not care about the police solving this case. The Shakur family had a very, bad relationship with the police.
Vlad, we've run out of time.
Afeni was even pregnant.
I'm really sorry. I'd love to have done more of this. Thank you very much for a great interview. I've been following you for a long time, and you're great at what you do, and I congratulate you.
Now, I have to also comment on the fact that before we move along, I have to comment on the fact that notice how they cut him off as soon as he started saying that he was talking to the family that was close to Afeni Shakur, and they had run-ins with the police and this, that, and the third. You know why they cut him off about that? Because they wanted to cut off the fact that the police had the involvement in killing Pac. The second he started to even mention the thought of Pac's history with the police, they cut him off and said, "Oh, we gotta go." It's all a ploy. And now I will play the big joker.
The cold case that no one ever expected to be solved is, of course, a huge step closer to being solved. The arrest in the Tupac Shakur murder 27 years later really shocked everyone last week. And we still have questions about why now,
right.
That the police haven't fully explained yet.
Because the man who is now charged with the murder confessed in 2008 that he was involved.
And has been saying it very openly in interviews that he handed the gun to a guy named Orlando Anderson, his nephew. And Keffe's story is that Orlando pulled the trigger and fired the shots into the car, which Suge Knight was driving. Tupac was the passenger.
Tupac was killed and Suge was shot.
Was hit but survived. So everyone was wondering what Suge's reaction is to there finally being an arrest in this case. You would think maybe he would be happy that there's going to be justice.
Well, also, and is he going to testify? So I spoke with him a very short time ago, and he is in prison right now. I talked to him when he was on the jailhouse phone and wanted to find out what he felt about the Keffe arrest and whether he would cooperate in the trial.
Tell me what your reaction is to the arrest of Keffe D.
Well, surprise, number one, because I didn't think Keffe D would never get arrested. Nor do I want to see him get arrested. Let's get one thing straight, first and foremost. Me and Keffe D played on the same Pop Warner football team. And whatever the circumstances, if he had an involvement with anything, if he didn't have any involvement in anything, who want to see? I wouldn't wish somebody going to prison on my worst enemy.
The DA says that Keffe D was in the car with his nephew, and that presumably his nephew, according to the DA, is the one that shot Tupac, and that it was done with the full knowledge of Keffe. Do they have it right?
There was only two people in the car. And Pac not going to tell the story. I ain't going to tell the story, but I tell you this. And I never had nothing bad to say about Orlando because, number one, he wasn't the shooter. Number two, he came to my hearing and told to let me go and tell the truth.
You heard it right there. Number one, he said it and confirmed There was only 2 people in the car. What Keefe say? Oh, there was another guy in the back that shot. There wasn't no fucking other guy in the back. Suge just said it himself. There was only 2 people in the car. Pac's dead and I ain't gonna tell you. But I will tell you, Orlando wasn't the fucking shooter. I repeat, Orlando Anderson was not the goddamn shooter. And I didn't expect Keefe D to get arrested.
They still didn't let me go.
If you are called to testify in this case,
I wouldn't be.
Why not?
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
Why not?
Well, number one, because I'm not gonna get on the stand and testify on somebody for what?
They seem to be saying that Orlando was the shooter and Keefe was in on it, that he had full knowledge of what was going down, and it was revenge for Orlando getting beaten up by Tupac and his team at the MGM after the Tyson fight.
He's being told to say that. As you can see on the left, he's getting knowledge to say that. He's literally reading off of this shit right here. They gave him that to say to Suge. Notice that he keeps trying to ask Suge the same fucking question. He keeps trying to ask Suge the same question to get the same answer out of Suge that Suge will not respond to. Suge is not going to say that Orlando Anderson shot anyone. And you just heard that he's not going to be sent, he's not going to be even asked to go to the stand. You know why he's not going to be asked to go to the stand? Because he was originally hired to orchestrate this whole thing. So why would they even ask him to go to the stand?
Is that correct?
No.
Then who shot Tupac?
It wasn't Anderson, so that's all I got to say about that part.
To summarize, you are saying Orlando was not the shooter, although you won't say who the shooter was. You are not saying whether Keefe was involved in any way in the shooting. And you are saying that if you're called to testify by either side, you will not comply. You will not testify. Do I have that right?
1,000%. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't testify. None of that. At the end of the day, free Keefe D.
You know what's really interesting is that he is pulling back from Keefe D's own statements.
Right.
Exactly. He's pulling back from Keefe D's statements because he knows Keefe D didn't have shit to do with the Tupac murder. He knows Orlando Anderson was not the shooter, but he was involved in the orchestration into making it look like he was involved. But Suge Knight has went on record for, 20 years now, saying Orlando was not the shooter. He's went on record for over 20 years saying he knows exactly who shot Pac, but he will never tell you. That is why Suge has been put away for life. He's been put away time and time and time and time again because he knows if Suge was to actually be on the streets, somebody would interrogate him and get the information. That is why Suge has been protected behind bars. And he knows he is. He knows he's protected behind bars.
Which is
But I will
bizarre.
say, so Suge is saying it wasn't Orlando Anderson, which is something that has been widely believed on the streets and alleged in interviews. Keefe D himself has said it, that Orlando is the person who pulled the trigger, and Orlando Anderson died a couple of years after Tupac did in a separate shooting.
I think everybody else in that car, there were 4 people in that car, and everybody's dead except Keefe.
Right.
And so now Keefe has said he was involved. Suge is intimating, at the very least, that he's not involved the way the DA thinks he was involved.
So the fact that Suge is saying, he's saying it's not Orlando Anderson.
Right.
I hear that. But he's not going to say who it is, which to me makes me feel like him saying it's not Orlando Anderson doesn't really carry as much weight either, because the reality is Suge is never going to snitch on anybody.
He's never going to snitch, and he's never going to testify. And that was clear.
Him not testifying, I would think that the DA in Las Vegas is not counting on Suge to be a material witness.
I think they're counting more on Keefe's own words.
Right.
I think
that's what they're going to lean into.
So, and that was another thing. So now that has brought to a lot of people's attention of the whole Diddy thing. Which I want to bring up also real quick. Because this one's very important.
Well, in fact, there was the rumor that after Pac got killed, Puffy gave Zip $1 million that was supposed to be handed over, and Zip ended up keeping it. And I remember when I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was actually roommates with Zip at one point. They were that close. He actually said, yeah.
The feds said that too.
He said that shit actually happened. Well, the story that has circulated was that after Tupac got killed, Puffy allegedly gave the money.
I heard
to Zip.
Yes.
And Zip was supposed to give the money to Keefe and them.
Yes.
But he never gave the money to him.
But thank God he never gave him the money, right? Think about it. If he gave the money, Puffy would be in prison now, money for hire, a murder for hire. So thank God. It's just a true story. I'm not saying yes or no, but if he would have gave them the money, it'd have been a murder for hire and Puffy would be locked up.
Yeah, I said he's a dirty motherfucker.
Yeah, and he even said that, like, in retrospect, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy. By Zip stealing the money, now Puffy isn't connected to that shit. Or else it would have been like a murder for hire or something, you know what I'm saying?
The FBI said Zip.
So the FBI told you the
said
same
he was
thing.
a dirty motherfucker, yeah.
So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well.
They said Zip's a dirty motherfucker. Everybody cross you. You're the last one to know every fucking thing. Even lawyers, your friends, everybody can cross your ass. You just don't know. Even the dudes you was riding in the car with every day, like a low jack. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, Zip had a history of ripping people off.
Yeah. He never ripped me off.
Well,
otherwise he wouldn't have.
Did he technically do? I mean, if he kept the money that supposedly.
True.
So actually, he ripped you off for $1 million.
Yeah. If that's what happened, yeah. They sure said it.
So now, think about this. Right? You heard all that, right? Just heard all that. So in conclusion, because I don't even believe the Diddy thing. That's another thing. I don't even believe the whole Diddy thing. On top of the fact that they're saying that the $1 million Zip kept after Diddy gave it to Zip was supposed to give it to Keefe. So here's the one part that I guess the hiding in plain sight part that went over people's heads, which was the FBI told Keefe D this. Why would the FBI tell him this? I want y'all to understand this one statement that was in that caption right there. The FBI told me that another gentleman kept $1 million that was supposed to be given to me by Diddy. So the part that goes over people's heads is the FBI part. Just saying. So, like I said, in conclusion, y'all can do your own research. I could talk till my face is blue about the shit. About both sides, Biggie and Pac. But, as I said before in the beginning, it's not going to bring either one of them back. All the drawing conclusions and trying to figure out who did what, who was where, that, and the third. It's not going to bring either one of those two amazing souls back. I wish it would, but it's not going to bring them back. Unfortunately. So moving right along. Speaking of not wanting to let someone die, or should I say let something go, I should say. Miss Jada Pinkett. Miss Jada motherfucking Pinkett. I ain't gonna say the Smith because you don't deserve the Smith no more in your name. You don't. You don't deserve to be called a Smith no more. You ain't wanted to be a Smith for the past damn near 10 years. Don't believe my word for it.
I was in a cycle of self-hatred, and it was just a really dark time. I want out, and I knew I had to make it look like an accident because I did not want my kids to think that I had committed suicide.
Languages.
Will's, was very much like yours. It's like, I want to work. I'm going to work hard so that you can have everything in the world that you'd ever want. You're not going to need for anything, right? And my love language was like, but I just want you to be here with me. I don't need all of that stuff. I want to look in your eyes and, feel your love and feel your protection here with me. And, it was like that connection. I wanted to feel like I wanted to make a masterpiece out of our connection, and he wanted to make a masterpiece out of, the life itself, right? And neither is wrong. Neither is wrong. And that's what I had to learn. That's where we've come to now in understanding. Neither one of those wants are wrong. So how do you balance them? Because it can't be one or the other. How do we balance it? Like yin and yang. Everything about life is balance. So I just want you to know that with you and your partner.
You talking to me?
Yeah, I just want you to know that because in as couples we get into these power struggles. No, my way is right. No, my way is right. Well, if you didn't have this, it gets into all of that, right? And it's like, stop. It's not about anybody being right or wrong. How do you get the balance of it? That's it, right? And so, it took Will and I 3 decades.
Jesus Christ. I haven't got that kind of time.
Yeah, 3 decades, okay? 3 decades. That's what we'll get to that.
3 decades of wasted motherfucking time, evidently. 3 decades of you being unhappy. You talking about balance. Well, what was you balancing? Checkbook? That's about all it. That's what it sounded like to me. You were still working. You was going through your battle, which, of course, we'll get to later. But from what I'm hearing, it sounded like you just got tired of being taken care of. And you fell out of love somehow with that. I don't get it. Where's the balance in that shit?
It doesn't have to be that, It's like, do it now.
Because that's what I've said to my girlfriend is I've told her that I've got this opportunity now because things are going well in my career. So I just want to focus for now. And then we're going to have all of our lives together. I actually said that to her one day and she reminded me of it a week later when we were arguing.
Yeah.
I was like, we're going to have all of our lives together. So like, we'll connect later.
Yeah, we'll connect later. It's like, what? What kind of foolishness is that? You know what I mean? And I'm going to tell you like this. I bet you when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to think about whatever it is you're trying to accomplish and achieve. What do you think you're going to think about most when you're on your deathbed? How you were loved and how you loved, no?
100%.
Okay.
And even
Why?
as I said it, I thought about Tupac and how you never know how long you've got left with someone.
You don't know. Why would you ever want to wait and put that off?
It's an excuse though, isn't it?
It is an excuse.
To
for
justify
sure.
my own toxic workaholism.
Well, you know, I wouldn't call it toxic. I'm always careful with this word toxic that we're throwing around, right? Because we're all so wounded.
Exactly.
And it's not, listen, when intimacy makes us have to look at our shit, right? It's easy to go, I pissed you off. I got you this diamond ring. I got you this, you know, beautiful bag. I'm going to take you on this trip. It's like, right? But like real emotional intimacy, we gotta deal with our stuff. A lot of stuff comes up there. But that's where connection and love and true happiness, true fulfillment is what's going on in our inner landscape.
You talk of this loss of identity when you married Will. And this is a quote I wrote down. It feels like I can't grasp my own journey. At times I feel resentful and angry. I don't know what to do about it. You and Will had these two sort of different visions for happiness in your lives together. His being that he wanted to take over the world as a global, movie star, all the things that he is. And within there, you start to lose yourself a little bit, it seems.
And now we get to the meat and motherfucking potatoes. Because how in the world... And see, this is what I was talking about. Where she got tired of being taken care of. Going through her battle with her sickness, she got tired of looking at just Will being on this huge mountaintop by himself, it appeared. And it didn't appear like she was standing there with him. Or it didn't appear like she had control of the situation and she wasn't the big star herself anymore. Remember, Jada Pinkett also struggled with Hollywood stardom herself. If you remember the days of Low Down Dirty Shame, Menace to Society. We can go on naming a few different movies she was in. Set It Off. Demon Knight. Movies that were critically acclaimed, but didn't quite win any awards for her.
This word resentful.
Yeah.
Very interesting word.
Yeah.
Can you give color to that word? Why you chose to use that word?
Because it's true. It was like I felt as though at that time, all right, if I want to help you do all of those things. I'm here to help you with that, right? And I'm like, and in return, I should get a bit of what I want, which is connection, right? And so for me, just giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and forgetting, well, not even forgetting, not realizing that I was abandoning myself in the hopes that if I just keep pouring into this, if I just keep pouring into him, if I keep pouring into his dream, I'm going to eventually get what I want, right? And that's a false idea in so many ways, right? And so many of us do that. If Will looked back and was trying to give me whatever the hell it was I was asking for, he wouldn't have been able to accomplish it anyway. Because if I'm not connected to myself, if I don't have a good relationship with me, there's nothing he can do. So I was going to be asked out anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's part of the journey. There's no right or wrong. Everybody's always trying to find the good guy or bad guy in people's stories. There's no good guys or bad guys. We're all wounded trying to figure this shit out. You know? And so it took me a long time to realize it is not his responsibility to make you happy. He can't. It's impossible. But it took me forever. Hard-headed, stubborn, you know, because that romantic idea. And that's why I talk about checking the boxes. It's like, I did everything I was supposed to do. You get to have your dream. How come I'm not having mine? And that's because Will was doing what he wanted to do.
He was making himself.
And there we have it right there. She just said it. She just said it herself. Out the horses. This is why I wanted to play this interview. You heard it from the horse's mouth. She was jealous of Will. She was jealous of Will's stardom. She was jealous of where Will was at being the megastar that he was. And she wasn't that big megastar with him. She was jealous.
Happy.
He was making himself happy.
And he says that to you, doesn't he? He says, when you separate, he says he wants you to go and...
He's like, go.
Go make yourself happy?
Go make yourself happy.
And how did you receive that?
Not well.
Now, here's where I call bullshit. Because as we've already heard recently, Will was pretty much shocked that she even said that she separated from him in 2016. So when did Will give her this hall pass, as if you will?
Not well, because, you know, there can be truth, but you know what I'm saying? It's like how we, you know, I think it was very true, but I think at that particular point in time, I was just still really resentful. I'm just like, you know, oh, so I helped you get your happiness. Now you just going, you know, throw me to the curb and, you know, I got to do it all on my own now, you know? But that's the truth. I had to do it on my own, you know, just like he did. You got to do it on your own. You got to do it on your own. You got to do it on your own. And a lot of that's what this is about, and me detoxing from needing fulfillment and validation outside of myself. Detoxing from needing it from Will, my marriage, my family, a career. Like, I had to get to the bare bones of Jada and walk what I call the exiled lands. And those exiled lands are going into the crevices of, you know, those places within that were holding me back from myself. All the fears, all of the false information and false ideas of what life is and what a marriage is supposed to be, and, you know, who I was supposed to be, what a wife is, like all of it. Perfectionism. And then I just went off to be completely imperfect and took joy in that.
Because being in Hollywood, I mean, this is a place that values the appearance of perfectionism. Like, everything looks perfect on the surface.
Yeah. And I think it's not a healthy idea. It's just not healthy. And it's not true. And nobody can live up to that, you know, which is why I've been dismantling that need to be perfect for myself. And that's been a painful ride, but.
Leading up to your 40th birthday, which is also where the book starts, I read the first pages of the prologue and I couldn't quite believe what I was reading. Because the place you're at in your life, this chronic state of discontent that you describe, I remember when I got to the chapter 17 in the book, which is No Soccer Mum Here, that was the first time I had to stop reading because it was a lot for me to take. Hearing that that's what was going on in your head and your mind, that's the way you viewed life. You didn't see any path forward for you. You you're 39 years old. Apparently, on the surface, it seems like you've got everything that anyone would dream of having. But internally, there's this chronic state of discontent.
Yeah.
I often say to people, if I was a fly on the wall, but if I was a fly inside the walls.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? 39 years old, about to turn 40.
Oh, I was in a very, very dark place. Very dark place.
I remember the line I read where you said, if I got to 4 p.m. every day.
I was like, I made it. And even that was like so hard. I mean, I was talking to my mother this morning because she just read the book, and she said, I can't believe you didn't talk about how you woke up every day crying.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, Ma, I think it was enough to tell people that I was looking for a cliff to drive off of. And what she brought up was like, she knew I was unhappy, but she didn't know why. So it wasn't that people around me didn't know that I was really unhappy. It's just that everybody believed what I believed, which is why it was so hard for me to talk about, which is like, you've got everything. What are you unhappy about? Right? And so that's how I was feeling. You've got everything. What are you unhappy about? And that was just, I had so much shame around that because I didn't understand.
And that's where we're going to stop it because, again, I call bullshit. Because we have went the same ring around the rosy with this shit. We went around the same ring around the rosy with her not knowing why she cheated, not knowing why she wanted to separate, not knowing why she was unhappy. So why were you unhappy? She still to this day don't know. How could you confuse yourself to where you don't know why you're not happy with yourself? Why you're not happy with love, with your children that you've made with this gentleman for what you just said, 30 years? 30 years of I don't know? Lord have mercy. I pray on that one. I pray on that one. But it didn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. Remember, she just put out a book called Worthy. Okay? And in this book, Worthy, she has done nothing but, eviscerate, if you want to say. Just completely disrespect Will Smith. Completely disrespect Will Smith on this one.
What is
and we're
going
to go
on
to
right
E-News
now?
now.
Wife's name out of your mouth.
Jada Pinkett Smith describes her shocked reaction to Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars. In a sit-down with today's Hoda Kotb, the Worthy author gives viewers insight on what was going on from her POV during the stunning moment during which Will got on stage and slapped the comedian after he had made a joke about Jada's hair. As viewers know, Will told Chris to, quote, keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
Oh, now, first of all, I'm really shocked because, mind you, I'm not there. We haven't called each other husband and wife in a long time. I'm like, what is going on right
keep
now?
my wife's name
out of your mouth, right? And I'm like, but now I'm really worried for Will because
And when she said that part right there, I damn near wanted to jump through the screen on her ass, because if you were so concerned for Will, you would have pulled Will's arm as soon as he left that chair. You would have said, Will, you would have yelled out, Will. If you were so concerned for Will would have not left your side quick enough to do what he did that night.
I don't know what's going on.
The Girls Trip star also shares that Chris apologized to her moments later.
And Chris looks to me and he says, Jada, I meant no harm. Now, I'm just out of it because really worried about
And what's
Will.
Will doing? He's just sitting there?
And Will's still talking. He's like,
Oh.
he's still, because now he's mad because Chris is talking to me. And I go, Chris, this is about some old shit. That's all I could think to say,
Yeah.
right? And I couldn't really take in his apology.
Revelation.
So, and obviously, Will is upset because he just slapped this gentleman on live television for you, and now you're backstage talking to him. As if I'm not standing right here. As if I didn't just smack the living shit out of him. For you. For him disrespecting you. And this is, like I said, where that word toxic that she was trying to avoid being called, this is where that word toxic comes into play. Because that was very toxic of Jada to not do a fucking thing if you are so concerned about Will and what he's doing in his own well-being. If you were so fucking concerned about Will Smith's well-being and health, you would have not put him around a fucking red table and then obliterate his career and his soul. Okay? You wouldn't have put him around that red table to tell him that you were sleeping with another man in a fucking entanglement. You wouldn't have put that man in tears the way you did across that table while you smiled on your fucking TV show.
Comes days after Jada delivered a bombshell to fans, revealing ahead of her memoir's release that she and Will have been secretly separated for 7 years.
In 2016, you and Will decided that you were going to live completely separate lives.
Yes.
It was not a divorce on paper,
Right.
but it was a divorce. So from the year 2016, which is 7 years ago now,
Yes.
y'all have been apart.
Yeah.
And here's what Jada says when asked why they haven't made the split legally official yet.
I think just not being ready yet. Still trying to.
7 years of not knowing if you're going to divorce from someone or not, but you actually made a split from someone. And this is my other thing. If Will is so shocked about this 7-year split that he didn't know about, who actually made this fucking decision? Because it sure wasn't Will.
To figure out between the two of us.
Yeah.
How to be in partnership, right? And in regards to how do we present that to people, you know? And we hadn't figured that out.
Hey, Will and Jada up top.
Actress Sophia Bush and soccer star Ashlyn Harris are dating,
I
according to multiple reports.
I tell you. It just it just got super like disrespectful over time. And that's when I started to say to myself, shame on Jada. Shame on you. Shame on you for what you are doing to this man. Shame on you. I'm going to continue reading from E! News real quick so we could get further understanding of this. So, in case your jaw hasn't dropped yet, since Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at 2022 Oscars, Jada Pinkett Smith is here to remedy that. Last week, the Red Table Talk host started dropping hot, savory breadcrumbs in a series of interviews leading up to the October 17th release of her memoir, Worthy, revealing she and Smith had been separated for 6 years. Before that shocking night, and they no longer lived together. Let's read further down because we've already gotten to the gist of that part, right? I want to read y'all what Will has recently said. So, Will Smith said, "When you've been with someone for more than half of their life, of sort of, hold on. Actually, I just want to make sure this is Will's response here." Actually, no. Because I believe we can find his on Instagram. I think he put his on Instagram now that I'm thinking about it. Where did he write that? Okay. Well, when you've been with someone for more than half of your life, a sort of emotional blindness sets in, wrote the actor Will Smith, who wed the Set It Off star on December 31st, 1997. You can all too easily lose your sensitivity to their hidden nuances and subtle beauties. Smith, who quipped on Instagram that his notifications are currently set to off, also offered a message of support that On Purpose host Jay Shetty shared during his sit down with Jada for the podcast. That's the one we just saw, of course. I just turned the final page of Worthy, Will Smith wrote. It is amazing to realize that despite having lived most of my life by your side, I still found myself shocked and stunned and caught off guard, laughing, then inspired, then heartbroken. I was all over the place. It's one thing to hear anecdotes at a family barbecue, but it was truly overwhelming to take in your story, potently condensed in this way. Noting he knew it wasn't easy to excavate the depths of oneself, the Will author concluded, "I applaud and honor you. If I had read this book 30 years ago, I definitely would have hugged you more. I'll start now. Welcome to the Authors Club. I love you endlessly. Now go get some Merlot and take a rest." And of course, Jada, of course, laughed back and said, it was a beautiful adding. That's why I can't divorce that Joker. Meanwhile, you should treat yourself to a generous pour and settle in for more of the bombshells Jada dropped in her book, Worthy. So, I'm going to read. Basically, they have some excerpts from E! News here, of course, with the timeline of Jada. So how Jada and Will met. Jada Pinkett Smith first met Will Smith when she was 20 years old and flew out to the set of her film The Inkwell to personally offer her a role on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She turned it down, she writes, because her movie career was taking off and she didn't want to do any TV. He was at her 21st birthday party, and she felt a connection during a later group hangout. And she did appear on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air after that, but he was married at the time. Pinkett Smith recalls Smith calling her less than a week after his first wife, Sherry Zampino, which was the first baby mother for the oldest son, filed for divorce in February 1995. He asked if she was seeing anyone. She said no, and she writes that his reply was, "Good, you're seeing me now." And she loved the boldness. Jada addresses rumors that she's gay. Rumor Pinkett Smith being gay have trailed her through the years, she notes. While she had a few sexual experiences with women and cherishes their beauty inside and out, she writes at the end of the day, "When it comes to sex, I love men." Tupac Shakur, that proposal. Pinkett Smith writes of an attempted kiss between her and late Tupac Shakur when they were classmates at the Baltimore School of the Arts. They loved each other, she described, but didn't have that sort of chemistry. She further shares that Shakur, who was killed in September 1996, proposed to her in a letter he sent from Rikers Island. We remember that letter, actually. That was a deep letter. She actually posted that letter. That letter is online, actually, if you guys want to read that. I think I did read that here on the podcast one time, actually, now I remember it. He sent from Rikers Island in February 1985 while awaiting sentencing after being convicted of sexual abuse. He had pleaded not guilty and was acquitted of sodomy and gun charges. The rapper was released after serving 10 months, having married girlfriend Keisha Morris. While in jail, the union was annulled. Pinkett Smith was adamantly torn, she writes, and considered going through with it, even though at the time she had no intention of ever getting married. But when Shakur told her he'd expect conjugal visits, she realized he wanted a wife while he did time, not for forever. And then Jada's tragic fight with Tupac. The last time Pinkett Smith talked to Shakur, they had what she describes as an intense fight at a restaurant where they were meeting to discuss starring in Gridlock together. Gridlock was Tupac's actual final movie. She called her agent right after and said she wouldn't do the movie and never wanted to work with or talk to the rapper again, she writes. They didn't talk again. On September 8th, 1996, Shakur was shot in Las Vegas. Pinkett Smith recalls his mother and everyone else who knew him, assuming he'd recover, so she planned to fly out on the 14th, but he had died on the 13th. Smith's ex, Zampini, was the first to call with the news, and Pinkett Smith remembers telling her then boyfriend that she didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. That was a sad time. Very, very sad time. And then Jada had refused the prenup. This is all stuff from the book. Jada refused to sign the prenup. Pregnant with their son Jaden at the time, Pinkett Smith wasn't having it. With Smith informed her ahead of the December 31, 1997 nuptials that his team thought they should sign a prenuptial agreement. She recalls firing back that if they were entering into a marriage with the possibility that divorce could happen, then maybe they shouldn't get married at all. Smith agreed, and that was that. Pinkett Smith writes, "It was the moment," she describes, in which they tactically vowed to stay together no matter what happens, and she would not go back on her word. Smith has also said divorce is not an option for them. So, in case you didn't read between the lines there, the prenup was basically to, I guess, avoid what's happening now. Also, if you pay close attention, the reason why they're not divorcing, I mean, obviously, though, they're not divorcing because it could be a huge mess of things. We're talking about Jada Pinkett and we're talking about Will Smith. I'm going to say it again to you. We're talking about Jada Pinkett and Will Smith. On paper, there's a lot of money that has to be broken down between the two. And you know who wallet is bigger than whose. Because you know who got jealous of whose. So, that is why they have agreed to not divorce right now. Because it could get very sticky. And it can get very messy. And one of them could end up very broke. So, to avoid that, they are staying together. Quote unquote. Advice from Warren Beatty. After turning down the role that went to Halle Berry in Warren Beatty's 1998 political satire Bullworth, Pinkett Smith recalls going to lunch with the actor director and being reminded that she contained multitudes. It was the first time she recalls appreciatively that someone told her in a non-judgmental way that she might want to allow more of the delight under my hard exterior to peer through. He didn't advise her to change, she notes, but rather to be willing to show more sides of myself. Playing through the death threats. Pinkett Smith recalls her security team advising her not to play Ozfest in 2005 with her metal band Wicked Wisdom, which she formed after her Matrix co-star Keanu Reeves inspired her to go for it. Due to the number of racist death threats they received, undeterred, they joined Tor, facing down a group of neo-Nazis in the audience during a show in Camden, New Jersey, and they played every date, including after she suffered a health scare that a doctor attributed to heavy stress. Battling depression and suicidal thoughts. Toward the end of 2011, Pinkett Smith wanted to be on the earth less and less. She recalls noting that therapy had least helped her reach 40 after years of battling depression, suicidal thoughts, and feelings of hopelessness. A diagnosis of complex trauma with PTSD and disassociation would come later, she notes. She looked for a suitable cliff to drive off of in Los Angeles so it would look like an accident, as we heard in the interview. She writes, but ultimately couldn't go through with it, worrying that she'd survive but be paralyzed or disfigured. Soon after, however, the parent of two of her son's friends sang the praises of ayahuasca in the book. She credits the subsequent eye-opening experience she had on the hallucinogen with, she went to see the toad. Okay, helping her put suicidal ideation behind her for good. Well, that's dope. She went to go see the toad. That's what's up. She did the toad medicine. If you guys don't know what the toad medicine is, it's a very traditional and ancient, I want to say Mexican medicine. The toad medicine, it's toad venom basically. You do the toad venom basically, and you can smoke it. I think, yeah, you smoke it and inhale it basically. You have to have someone that does it. You have to have at least 2 to 3 parties that help you with it in the process or whatever, because it is a very strong hallucinogen. And the side effects of it was said to have cured heroin addiction also, and suicidal thoughts as well. So I'm glad she went to go see the toad. But yeah, Pinkett Smith also recalls a friends and family ayahuasca experience she arranged about a year after the 2022 Oscars, and Jaden, 25, had said it was his mom who introduced his dad and sister Willow to psychedelics. So mom got all them tripping now. Now they all shutting up. You will be high and like it. A relationship of transparency, not an open relationship. Pinkett Smith explains that her and Smith's approach was never go sleep with whomever you want. It was let's trust each other to come together in partnership with the truth, talk and work as partners through them. Talk of an open marriage was somewhat misleading, she writes, but also admits their way isn't for everybody. At the same time, she muses in the book that she may have suggested a relationship transparency because still traumatized by her late father walking out on their family, she feared being abandoned. And the end of the marriage as we know it. Throughout the book, from the time Smith enters the narrative, Pinkett Smith describes a mutual failure to dig beneath the surface and really work through their differences. The couple communicating more respectively than productively. They put off difficult conversations, she writes, and she adamantly made the mistake of thinking he should be able to read her mind. Wrong. Men cannot read no woman's mind. We can't read our own fucking mind half the time. He should already know, she recalls thinking. And by 2016, with their kids, including her stepson Trey, forging their own paths, it became more obvious she and Smith had pictures in our mind of what happily married couple was, she writes, and our pictures didn't match. Pinkett Smith shares that she did consider divorce, but ultimately never even met with a lawyer. Any lawyer, despite rumors that she did, she added, their solution, she writes, was to separate in every way except legally. And then the Chris Rock asked her out. Sometime before the slap, according to Pinkett Smith, Chris Rock asked his Madagascar co-star out on a date. And with the latest round of rumors that she and Smith were breaking up, she writes that she told the comedian that wasn't the case. They laughed about it, and he apologized profusely. Rock and his ex-wife, Malak Compton, split up in 2014 and finalized their divorce in 2016. His rep did not respond to E! News' request for that comment at the time. Remember, we're reading this from E! News, of course, citing from them. Reason for hope. Pinkett Smith was on the production team that brought King Richard into being. But at one point, after a particular falling out with her husband, she asked for her name to be removed. Intriguing. Smith insisted she stay on. She writes, so she remained an executive producer. But she recalls being pleasantly surprised when Smith wanted her to be his date at the many ceremonies that demanded his presence throughout the 2022 awards season. So she wasn't even supposed to be there at the awards that he slapped Chris Rock at. She didn't even want to be there. They were back in therapy. So basically he was on a promotional run, and because of the promotional run, gotta be seen with my wife, yada yada yada. I got it now. Okay, so they were back in therapy, she notes. And she considered the investigation, she considered the invitation a sign we weren't ready to give up everything just yet. And of course, she was really shocked that Jada was shocked that he had slapped Chris Rock. So, like seemingly everyone else was watching, Pinkett Smith assumed at first that her husband and best documentary presenter Rock were that Chris Rock were doing a planned bit when Smith marched up to the podium after Rock's G.I. Jane 2 joke and smacked the comedian in the face. Pinkett Smith describes how she and Rock had eventually exchanged consolatory messages after she boycotted the 2016 awards, and he as host took a few shots at her and Will in his monologue. We covered that as well, because it seemed like there was a beef between Will Smith and Chris Rock over the years, because it wasn't just the Oscars he did that at. Shit, he did it at the Nickelodeon Awards. Like, Chris Rock just openly takes jokes at Will Smith for some reason. Again, the jealousy thing. And it's very evident because throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, Will Smith was a very sought-out person, and he was the king of the summer, they said, at one point. From Independence Day, he was the king of the summer with blockbuster movies, with Bad Boys and things like that. So, yes, Will Smith was a very high sought-after, high-profile superstar in the theaters. But without going into detail, she notes there had been decades of disrespect between Will and Chris, going back to the 1980s. Look at that, see? Wow, 1980s, so crazy. Still, after the unscripted reality of the moment on March 12th, 2022 sank in, what shocked her and most, she writes, was hearing Smith call her his wife. As you heard, she was very taken back by that because they had been separated for so long. As in, keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth. 6 years after they had separated, and Pinkett Smith, of course, sensing the coming months wouldn't be easy for her husband, planned to stand with him in the storm of no matter what. As his wife, no matter what, I should say. So, yeah, man. In conclusion, Jada, you know better. That's just my thing. You know better, Jada, than to be dragging this man through the mud like this with that book. That's all I got to say. And not necessarily the book as much as you doing it with the promo run. Not necessarily through the book. Because the book is probably a lot less harsher than how it is sounding. That is the main thing. The book is probably a lot less harsher than how this shit is sounding with you being on the promo run and using majority of what you are saying about Will as the fucking lead for people to buy the book. That's just my thing. leave Will alone and let him be at peace. Because right now, he been trying to be at peace, but this type of shit that don't let the man be at peace. Speaking of which, I'm done, y'all. It's late. It's 2:07 here in the morning. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Yeah. But I'm ready to go bed.
My type of women like to cuddle, but don't sleep on the money. My type of women like to talk, but don't talk to no dummy. A good play, peace and pay, that's a damn good day. A good play, peace and pay, that's a damn good day. A type of dudes don't be calling, trying to blow up a phone. A type of dudes getting money, but don't leave her alone. She just need food, peace and pay, that's a damn good day. She just need food, peace and pay, that's a damn good day. Don't be mad at it, that's just what I prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what I prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what we prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what we prefer. I need a woman that can cook and clean. She need a good man that fucking mean. I kick it paying all bills, yeah I foot the fee. Yeah, I know she bad and bougie, but she good to me. We talking king shit, I love to show her royalty. I need a queen, quick to always show her loyalty. And when even a nigga off, she be on with me. She DEF the fuck boy, she supported G. That's how it always be. Yeah, it's a baddie, it's a baddie. Make it clap, patty cake with that fatty. Yeah, she love it. Making money. Keep it coming, keep it cunning. Hate but complaining, haters do nothing. My type of women like to cuddle, but don't sleep on the money. My type of women like to talk, but don't talk to no dummy. A good play, peace and pay, that's a damn good day. A good play, peace and pay, that's a damn good day. A type of dudes don't be calling, trying to blow up a phone. A type of dudes getting money, but don't leave her alone. She just need food, peace and pay, that's a damn good day. She just need food, peace and pay, that's a damn good day. Don't be mad at it, that's just what I prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what I prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what we prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what we prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what I prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what I prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what we prefer. Don't be mad at it, that's just what we prefer.